like the number 21? Well, it sure paid off in Pomona. Checkered flag in the air, and McCachran goes wire to wire and wins again at Pomona. Today, the rules are different. This is Vegas, and now these guys have to find a way to beat 21. This guy's a gambler. Last year, it earned him the Pro 2 championship. Ricky Johnson has new colors in 2008, and he hopes he's riding on the wheels of fortune. Veteran Rick Huseman is ready for Vegas because he knows all about heartbreak.
Oh no! Look at that! The worst way to lose a race.
Last race, Carl won it all in California. Last year, he won it all in Vegas. This is hardcore racing with just a little kiss for good luck. Nowhere does second hurt more than Vegas. Heck, half the town was built by a guy named Wynn. Welcome to Las Vegas, where almost everyone goes home a loser. But you already knew that, didn't you? Speed presents Championship Off-Road Racing. Today it's round 3 from the Las Vegas International Off-Road Raceway in Primm, Nevada. We're about 35 minutes from the famed Las Vegas Strip on a sunny and hot afternoon, and we do mean hot. Temperature expected to climb above 100 degrees. Hi everybody, Bill Weber along with Mr. Cool, Ken Stout. Thanks for having us in for the race. This is a purpose-built track, meaning it's as close to a permanent facility as you'll see in off-road racing. It debuted last fall, and even with all the stars on the track, the reviews seem to think that the course came out as the headliner.
It's a very fast track, and of course, on a fast track, if you're going to hang it out there on the edge, things can go wrong. We saw some of the biggest wrecks in all time right here at this particular track. One that comes to mind has to be Rick Huseman, who went out there 2 complete revolutions in midair. We call him Rick 720 Huseman now, 720 degrees, and then stuck the landing. It was scary, but this track is rude, man.
We started with the Pomona doubleheader in Pro 2. Rob McCachran was the story.
Rob McCachran, fresh off of 2 wins from 2007, comes back in 2008, backs that up, starts the season off hot with 2 more.
In Pro 4, CORR off the championship in 2007, got a couple of wins there as well.
CORR the man, and if you go back to that final round, he didn't lead much of that race. In fact, he only led about the last 100 yards, but that's all that mattered.
And in Pro Light, one of the stars in off-road racing, back in CORR in 2008.
Yeah, the champion from 2006 with CORR comes back, Chad Horde. Had a bit of a rough weekend, but the finishing results were good. A 3rd place and then a 1st place, a dogfight with last year's champ.
Gonna be a lot of fun to watch. We can't wait to get started. Let's check in with Kelly Stavist.
With Bill, Rob McCachran, the opening rounds at Pomona. And Rob, how do you carry that momentum now that everybody's gunning for you?
You know what, we went home from Pomona, we just kept working hard on this Rockstar truck. We worked with B.F. Goodrich on some tires. We did testing at our own track, and we ended up coming here and we qualified on the pole. I think we might have a little bit of inversion today, don't quite know what, but I kind of expect that I'm going towards the back. So I think we're going to have a work cut out for us, and hopefully we can put this truck on the pole or the winner's circle again.
Well, Rob McCachran couldn't ask for anything more, but I have a feeling Johnny Greaves is still looking for a little more in his Pro 2.
Well, Kelly, Johnny Greaves has been trying to get this Pro 2 running here in 2008, and Pomona it was okay, but it seems to be a lot better this weekend. Why?
Yeah, you know, we did a little testing, and we got together with the X-Track guys and the engine guys at Toyota and TRD, and we had to get that combination gelling. You know, the power band and where the truck wants to run, and you know, we're the only ones out here working with a stick shift in the Pro 2, and it's a tricky deal. So it's really important. The numbers game on ratios and power band and everything, it has to be there. Every gear we grab, this thing needs to be on the pipe where it wants to run, and that's where we were having trouble with Pomona. We didn't have the proper splits, and we weren't running the engine in the right RPM power band, so we did that, some suspension changes, and just a few more laps.
All right, good luck.
Thanks.
Bill?
Thanks, Marty. The stars of championship off-road racing getting ready to take the green flag here at Primm. You're watching CORR on Speed.
I'm right with you.
Championship Off-Road Racing is brought to you by AmSoil, the first in synthetics. By Monster Energy Drink. By Bully Dog, the leader in performance products for your gas and diesel-powered truck and SUV. And by KMC Wheels, like no other. Seating for 9,000 people here in Primm. Take a look at the starting grid for this afternoon's Pro 2 event here in Primm. And the top 8 positions from qualifying were inverted. That puts Todd LeDuc on the front row with Johnny Greaves. Scott Taylor and Carl Rennesener up to row 2. And row 3, Jeremy McGrath and Jerry Welchel. Drop back, take a look at row 4. There you find Ricky Johnson and the man that had the fastest time in qualifying, Rob McCachran. And take a look at the rest of the field, and we should point out that qualifying was held here under various track conditions, which really favored the guys that have more experience and were higher in points.
Well, we have 28 trucks inside of this field. They couldn't send them all out here at one time, so they came out in groups.
Green flag.
We were worried about the pileup in turn number 1. That's exactly what happened. They go over that tabletop into one hard, and everybody has to get locked down and try to turn.
Greaves trying to get the lead from LeDuc.
Everybody was concerned about Johnny Greaves. He did find a sweet spot inside of that truck, but it's real easy to overpower the rear tires. That's what he was talking about. He doesn't have a converter inside of that truck with an automatic transmission to soften the blow, soften the horsepower. He has to do it with his right foot.
Here comes Carl. It's also fair to point out this is one of the dustier tracks we race on.
We're out here in the desert, and there is silt out here, as you can see. And once you hit that silt, poof, it's just instant dust and very difficult to see.
It's Todd LeDuc in first. Johnny Greaves runs second. Rennesener
and look at Rob McCachran making a run already into the top 3.
That's from 8th, challenging for second.
Scott Taylor, the 6-time champ with issues again, a brand new truck, and man, he's just been snake bit this year.
He had a good starting spot too.
Oh man, and Johnny Greaves managed to save that, I don't know how. Oh, and almost lost it again.
That was 3 wide for the lead.
Well, Todd LeDuc way out front right now, 3 career wins with CORR. He won the first and last win for his first 2, and now out here very strong. He's certainly proven to everybody that he is a contender.
He qualified 8th. He was excited about that, knew he'd have a lot of work to do. Then they inverted and put him on the front row on the pole.
Happy birthday. Not everybody's that lucky in Vegas.
It's McCachran, Jeremy McGrath in the 15.
Adrian Chinney coming up to us right there. Adrian Chinney running 2 classes. Now looks like Evan Evans back in there as well.
Evans has gained 7 positions in the first couple of laps.
Scott Taylor well back in there, so he's fighting his way back up as we go to the front.
LeDuc in that rock star ride is the race leader.
And that right-hander is tricky right there, Bill, because it's so easy to overdrive. You come through the rhythm section, and you want to stand on the throttle to get through the rhythm section right, and then it makes it very easy to overdrive that turn. So take a look at McGrath right there and McCachran. So McCachran working his way to the front, but now kind of stayed right there. As a matter of fact, has lost his spot.
That's on board.
Jeremy McGrath, yeah.
I want to point out that Evan Evans started 21st and has made his way to 10th. There's Jeremy. That monster truck.
There
Losing
goes
some
the body
parts.
panel.
You'll see that in off-road racing.
That will happen from time to time, and I'm sure that McCachran won't be too worried about it. Carl Rennesener again leaning on Todd LeDuc. Here they come through that rhythm section, and they just want to tickle the tops of those things. Down low, keeping it tight. Not a bad line there for Carl.
And we race to a competition caution, but it's important to point out as Rennesener takes the lead that beginning with this race, points will be awarded for the top 3 positions coming to that yellow flag.
Yes, and you mentioned in the modification as well, also points in qualifying. First, second, and third will also receive points. little sideways off of that tabletop. Those guys get a ton of air. And again, they'll start off on a track here that's very loamy. They've actually grooved these tires 2 different ways. They've grooved them so that they can get through the loam early in the race. This track's probably going to blow off and get dry slick, and then they need a lot of traction towards the end of the race.
And a good battle for the lead up front. There's CORR in the center, that Lucas Oil ride. Rockstar truck, Todd LeDuc.
2 totally different lines there. Carl went up, kind of diamond the turn off. Todd right behind him. Nice, smooth arc.
Couple of Fords up front.
And it was funny, you know, a day ago in practice, Carl was checked out. Carl was lucky if he was in the top 10 in times. But man, Mike Seat, the rest of the gang from that team really put it together, and they came out here and they're fast.
Kelly.
I asked Carl Renesetter what it was going to take to knock Rob McCacken off that top spot, and he said, you know, for me, I really think I just needed to find my groove with my old baby. He's made some motor changes in his truck in the offseason. He said he think it found it this morning, and it sure looks like it, Bill.
Thanks, Kelly. Renesetter out front. Got to point out that Kurt Greaves and the guys on Johnny Greaves' truck were working really hard on a steering issue on this Pro 2 like 45 minutes before the green flag, as Johnny has lost a few positions. He's back in the Ford truck, currently in the 6th position as you look at CORR Renesetter, the race leader. Todd LeDuc in a Ford runs 2nd.
A lot of these guys have made a lot of tire changes, improving in the tires. Also in the transmission, a lot of the guys have tightened up the converter a little bit so that when they come to throttle, it'll pick the throttle up, get the power down to the ground just a little bit quicker to get through the thick stuff.
Evan Evans from 21st to 7th.
We know Evan Evans is very fast. We talked about him before. Paraplegic, all hand controls, and he just missed winning the championship. There's a look at him right there, the yellow and white machine. But he just missed winning the championship in this category on 3 different occasions.
Oberg, another guy moving forward, currently scored in the 8th position. He started deep in the field as well, back in 15th.
And Mike Oberg's a guy that's come out of the Midwest, the Amsoil truck right there. He actually put a bigger sway bar in the back of that truck. He said the setup from the Midwest to the West Coast is drastically different. They changed spring rate on the truck. He said it's all about getting the car or the truck to rotate in that turn.
That's Oberg in the 80. There's Cheney in the 2. Behind them, Ricky Johnson in the 9 Red Bull ride. CORR Renesetter up front, running on into some lap traffic here. Has to tiptoe through here, and this is not easy.
Yeah, it's a dice game, if you will, no pun intended to.
Oh, yes, it
figure out
was.
which line to take there, the high line or the low line.
You stay up late last night thinking of that? There's Rob McCacken, rather. Jeremy McGrath right behind him. That's McCacken. Won both races at Pomona in Pro 2.
You know, and speaking to a lot of these guys, they feel like they need to be in the top 3, maybe 4th place by that mandatory caution. They want to have a shot at winning out here.
Kelly, what are you watching?
Well, Todd LeDuc told me the same thing. He said it was going to be very important to get out front because he expects some big ruts to be formed with the number of trucks on this track. And he said it's going to get harder and harder to pass. And even though he qualified 8th, he said he was running 2nd and 3rd quick in practice, so he knew he had some more in his truck.
And we're going to talk about your Toyota keys to the race a little later, but being able to adjust your line here is going to be critical this afternoon.
Yeah, and that's where the motocross guys come into play because they adjust when they're riding motorcycles. In motocross, you adjust to the different lines, and that's exactly what McCacken, Ricky Johnson, a number of the guys have said. You've got to be able to adapt to what this track is going to offer you.
Race leader, CORR Renesetter. Marty?
Well, Bill, Ken and I were talking to Ricky Johnson earlier, and that's what he was talking about, right, Ken? He said this track will change. It's going to start wet. It's going to end up completely dry and dusty like it is right now. And the guy who's willing to change his line throughout the race, that's the guy who can win.
So CORR Renesetter takes the mandatory competition caution, gets 6 points for leading at that portion of the race. LeDuc 2nd, McCacken 3rd. 3 points for LeDuc, 1 for McCacken. Under caution in Primm. back in Primm, getting ready to restart the Pro 2 race of championship off-road racing. 17 laps here, and we talked about some of the keys for the race. Here are your Toyota keys for the race. Talked about the tire grooving.
Yeah, and for the Pro 2 guys, they'll set up with a dual groove. One for the loam to start the race off, then they'll set up the other side of the tire for the dry slick that's coming to them right now. Changing conditions, that's what we talked about as well. You have to be able to adapt to what this track is going to offer you. And then finally, position on the mandatory caution. That's what we talked about as well. You want to try to get into that top 3, possibly 4, to have a shot at winning here.
That'd be Renaissance, LeDuc, McCachran, and McGrath as we go back to green.
Rob McCachran with a chance to continue on with history. He's one of only 3 guys that have been able to parlay 3 consecutive wins at the start of the season into a championship. He did it in back-to-back years in 2000 and 2001. Of course, that was in Pro 4.
Trucks all over the place. We go back up front. CORR Renaissance being chased by Todd LeDuc. Then McCachran in 3rd, Jeremy McGrath in 4th. Battling back there with Jerry Welchel.
Todd LeDuc right there, too, just waiting for CORR to make a mistake, which he doesn't do very often.
That's LeDuc, the rock star ride. Let's check with Kelly on Carl.
Well, Carl's had to contend with another interesting predicament. Just before qualifying, he tried a performance enhancement drink for the first time ever, suffered a severe allergic reaction to it, was being checked out by the EMTs in the ambulance because his throat had swollen up, he could barely breathe. He's on a lot of Benadryl right now. He said that's probably not what he wants to be on before this race. Marty?
Well, Kelly, Todd LeDuc is trying to catch CORR Renaissance, and he asked his dad, Kurt, who is spotting for him, what can I do to maybe be a little faster? He said Kurt is a little bit higher when he goes into the corners. Maybe try that, see if that helps you out. Actually, and he said that might help you have a little more momentum through those turns.
Well, McCachran has taken over 2nd spot, and now CORR Renaissance has a rearview mirror full of that Rockstar Energy powered machine, and of course, this is the battle we've been longing to see.
Right. So CORR Renaissance leads, then it's Rob McCachran in 2nd. McCachran won both races in Pomona. LeDuc has dropped back to 3rd.
Greaves back there in 6th place as well, having a tough run of it, but the battle up here in front, and look at that dust. You know, racers can deal with mud. They pull a tear off, and you're okay for a moment. But the dust, there's nothing you can do about it. It becomes very scary.
And we've gone to a full course caution.
And that's quite possibly just because of the dust. It would not be the first time that's happened.
We actually stopped a race here last fall, I believe even on lap 2, because of all the dust.
And it's not uncommon to come out here and put a little bit of water down. It's really for the safety of these drivers because, I mean, they're racers. They're going to keep going. And we saw what happened whenever you run into somebody full steam at Pomona, unfortunately.
Marty?
Hey guys, real quick, Scott Taylor, we mentioned his problems earlier. He has pulled back into the garage, a broken right rear shock. Scott Taylor out of the race.
That's too bad.
6-time champ has just had a tough go of it since he's gotten back out here.
But he's really upbeat about things. I guess when you're as successful as he has been, especially in Pro 2 and Championship Off-Road Racing, you know the luck's going to turn.
Well, he feels very confident. There's no question there. And there's no place he'd rather be than out here with the best. I mean, you want to win a championship with these names inside of the class.
CORR Renaissance is the race leader. Then it's Rob McCachran, Jeremy McGrath, Jerry Welchel, defending series champion in that yellow and blue truck, number 1. He's in 4th.
And how about him? I mean, another nice move for him, you know, and that's the champions. They just always seem to find their way back up towards the front. That's what it's all about. He finished 5th, and then he finished 3rd the first 2 rounds. Brand new truck again, brand new team. Just shows up ready to go and keeps delivering.
Kelly, how about it?
Well, Jerry told me he was happy with that 3rd and 5th place finishes at Pomona. He said really right now what they're battling is they haven't had enough test time. They think this is a race-winning truck. He just hasn't had enough time in it to get comfortable with it. He said after the next couple rounds back in Pomona, then they'll have a break in the schedule and they're really going to get this thing dialed in. He's disappointed they're going to have to wait 4 races till he can get to that point, but he knows he'll be up front when he gets it working.
Our next championship off-road race on speed comes to you Sunday, June 22nd from the Pomona Fairplex, starting at 5 p.m. Eastern. That's 2 Pacific, right here on Speed.
Well, Bill, it was just moments ago we were talking about Todd LeDuc battling for the lead. I heard you screaming on the radio as I was trying to report on the air. You said, it's lugging, it's lugging. What happened?
Yeah, CORR and I had a great race at the start. my Toyo tires and this Rockstar energy drink truck was hauling butt, man. And I just landed with the throttle on and it chipped the rear tooth in the ring and pinion. And I limped it, but right here, just coming into the pits, it let loose. But Makita's here. They're super stoked. Calgar Racing Oil. And we're going to come back for the next round and run up front.
From battling for the lead to out of it, Todd LeDuc out of the race. Bill.
Thanks, Marty. And a similar situation for a couple other guys in this race, especially Scott Taylor.
Well, here's the way it lays out now. A completely different track than they've raced on to this point. Water down everywhere. It will be extremely slippery down the bottom of these turns where it's already a bit dry slick. So these guys will go searching for the cushion in all these turns.
So just to underscore, the competition caution, or the caution flag rather, came out. So race officials were able to water the track. And as Ken pointed out, that changes the racing surface dramatically.
Absolutely, and this is where these guys are going to be lucky that they have a big lug cut into this tire, if in fact they do have one of those, because they'll need it to get up there in that soft stuff and look for some traction. The big sweeper, turn number 5, I'm telling you, it is like ice before there's any water down.
The race officials are adding laps. So these laps were running under the caution while the track was watered, not really hurting the competition.
Here we go.
CORR Redezener, the race leader. Then it's Rob McCachran, Jeremy McGrath, Jerry Welchel, and Ricky Johnson up to 5th.
Go, go.
Well, McCachran went high and hit the cushion and straightened the truck out. It looked like he lost a little time, but now he's coming down there like a rocket ship. Oh boy.
Less than 4 to go. This is for the lead. McCachran on the inside in the Rockstar ride, then the Lucas Oil Ford of Redezener.
Way up high they hit.
Ricky Johnson has gotten the 3rd spot. Jeremy McGrath back there, and Welchel Redezener.
Man, he was sideways in the air, managed to save it somehow, but that's because of all the water that's down. These guys are trying to keep the truck straight, and it's difficult to do. McCachran's going high, trying to get up in the fluff, and he almost loops it. McCachran off the track. Here comes Redezener right back in front.
I like this watering idea.
Yeah. And RJ's staying nice and smooth. He takes over 2nd position.
Ricky Johnson in the Red Bull number 9. So Ricky Johnson, who won the Pro 2 championship in the first season, battling for the lead with Redezener, and Ricky Johnson goes to 1st.
How about that? And I was talking with his crew chief, Charlie, who he was with back in 1998. He was putting the big lugs on those tires.
Marty.
What an unbelievable run from 7th to 1st for Ricky Johnson. And he told the crew under the last caution, listen, just remind me of patience. I want to be aggressive, but I also have to be patient with this new track.
And something else to keep in mind, the racing surface on the last lap will be significantly different than it is on the previous lap.
And now look at this, taking over 2nd place, Jeremy McGrath. So 2 motocross guys up here in 1st and 2nd.
Jeremy McGrath in that Monster Energy number 15. Johnson leads, then McGrath, then Redezener back to 3rd. Kelly.
And don't forget that Ricky Johnson leading in that Red Bull Ford, that is the same truck that Rob McCachran swept here in Primm a year ago, or last season. He had a huge lead. They tried some things on Ricky's truck this season, but went back to that same setup that Rob dominated in November.
You know, he lost his underdrive in qualifying. They put a bigger, better unit in that thing, and it looks like it's really working out for him here now.
2 laps to go.
He runs a 2-speed transmission inside of that truck, and with the underdrive, it actually gives him effectively a 4-speed transmission. So when he lost that, all he had was 1st and 2nd. He lost it in turn 1 of qualifying. He felt like he had left some on the table, and it looks like he was true.
That's your top 3. Ricky Johnson in the Red Bull machine, then the Monster Energy ride of McGrath, Redezener in the Lucas Oil Ford.
Look at that. Boy, beautiful textbook move. If you want to pass him, you can't follow him. Oh, and it looks like it cost him. It's just so slippery down there.
Redezener loses a lot of track position right there. Leaders racing toward the white flag. 43-year-old Ricky Johnson out front.
Here, Rick. He's trying. He's really trying. White flag here. White flag.
Looking for win number 8 in his off-road racing career.
course, Ricky Johnson, the first ever Pro 2 champion in the history of CORR back in 1998. Switched teams in the offseason, hooked up with Steve Barlow, the Red Bull sponsor, Pro 2 truck now. And Keller with a great point. I mean, this is the truck to beat at the end of last season.
And Ricky Johnson wants to prove he's the man to beat in Pro 2. Obviously a tremendously successful career in two wheels, as Ken talked about earlier. But now he's on 4.
Yeah, those two guys in first and second, man, have a huge pile of championships on 2 wheels. Now it's all about Pro 2. And Ricky Johnson had 2 great runs going at Pomona, but got snake bit a couple different times.
Looking at the final turn, coming into turn 4. Ricky Johnson with a new ride, a new team, and new colors in 2008. Comes off of 4, sees the checkered flag waving. Ricky Johnson wins in Primm.
Well, I think RJ needed that. He knew it was coming. He finished second in round 1, 16th in round 2. They lost their underdrive there as well, so they had some issues. Going to work on this truck, just getting it a little better. He's getting used to it, and now it's starting to pay off.
Started 7th, lost a few positions early in the race, fought back to get them, came back after the mandatory caution, and takes the checkered flag. Ricky Johnson, the race winner. Unofficial results of the top 5, McGrath, Greta Center, Welchel, and Johnny Green. Take a look at the unofficial results from this afternoon's action here in Primm. Ricky Johnson with the big win. Jeremy McGrath ties his career best with a runner-up finish. Then Carl Rennesener back in 3rd. Look at some of these guys. McCaffrey back in 6th. Good run from Mike Johnson in the 7th spot. Adrian Cheney in 8th. And Greg Adler comes home 10th. Let's go down to Kelly.
Well, Ricky Johnson accepting some congratulations around here in the winner's circle for his first win of 2008. He's got his wife and his son Luke, who also races in the series down here. But Ricky, what an interesting race. Tell me, you started 7th, you take the win. Tell me about the second half of that race as the track conditions changed so much. How did your strategy change?
Strategy, well, you know, I've had a strategy ever since I started racing. Pass who's ever in front of me and run away from who's behind me. And today, I couldn't see who was in front of me and I didn't care who was behind me. It was just, oh man, I made the biggest mistake on the first lap. Spun out, now I'm in last place, and I'm thinking I got all those guys up front. And it just came to me, so I was cursing the watering of the track, but it played into my hands. I feel sorry for those guys up front because you're at the mercy. You got to run protective lines, and those guys went and slid out. But man, Red Bull, Bosch, we put it up front.
What was your spotter telling you in your ear? I know that you've been asking for some words of wisdom.
Tell me where these guys are at. You know, I want to congratulate this guy, Brent Mian. He's my crew chief, car chief. He puts this thing together. But my spotter, Charlie Sleevey, was my crew chief back in 98, and it's great to have him back in all 5 on Scopatone. But he was just telling me, breathe, don't get too excited, don't make any more stupid mistakes. Just drive and get after those guys, but be aggressive. So it's a fine line between being aggressive and being stupid. I was stupid at the beginning, aggressive at the end.
It paid off. Congratulations.
By the way, you're a great kisser.
Huge win for Ricky Johnson, and I think it's safe to say he's pretty happy about it.
Luck be a lady. The last time he won, round 3, 2007. So round 3 seems to be a lucky number for him.
We'll continue our coverage from Primm, Nevada. You're watching Championship Off-Road Racing on Speed. Take a look at the unofficial point standings in Pro 2. After 3 events this season, Rob McCaffrey continues to lead, but Carl closing in a little bit.
Yeah, 18-point spread when they came in. Now it's only 5, and of course Ricky Johnson jumping right into the hunt.
And we'll point out again that beginning with this weekend here in Primm, CORR is giving points for qualifying and also points for the first 3 finishers coming to the competition caution midway through the race. And that could play a huge factor when we get down to the final few races here in 2008. Marty.
Well, Bill, Jeremy McGrath ties a career high second place. As you mentioned, he's obviously very happy about that. But tell me about those final few laps, kind of like the seas parted for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was carnage everywhere, and what a great race. I mean, last year Antelope Valley for me was a great race. I led a lot of it. But this year, started 6th with the inversion. Just kind of, you know, one thing I'm happy with, I raced for the front the whole time instead of being conservative. And, you know, these guys are great. In the middle of the race, they threw a little water. I didn't know if I had enough tear-offs and added a few laps to it. But this Monster Energy Toyo Bully Dog Baldwin truck is really ripping. And my guys did a great job, and can't thank them enough.
And you had fun battling this guy, Carl Renasetter, who wound up finishing 3rd, and you guys were talking about some stories. Did watering the track help or hurt you?
Oh, it definitely hurt. We were having a great race. This Lucas Oil truck was unbelievable. The BF Goodrich tires were hooked up, and we were hoping for a better result. I knew it was. I felt a little bit like a sitting duck being on the pole after they watered, because it's just, you know, it's slick no matter what you're going to do, and it just depends on what kind of chances the guy behind you is going to take. So I just kind of had to wait and see what was going to happen, and sure enough, it just all hell broke loose, and you know, we managed to get a 3rd and stay on the podium. So I'm happy for this Lucas Oil team.
Always a good day when you do finish on the podium, Bill.
Thanks, Marty. Now let's take a look at our Skyjacker shock of the race, Ken.
Rob McCachran up there takes over the lead. That's after they'd watered the track, and loops are almost all the way around. That opens up the door, obviously, for Carl to take the lead once again, and then a Ricky Johnson eventually passed Mac right there for 2nd place.
Our Skyjacker shock of the race. Still ahead, the Pro Lights and the Pro 4s on the track here in Primm. Our speed race coverage team in Primm, Nevada, about 35 minutes from the famed Las Vegas Strip, watching championship off-road racing. And we're coming up to the Pro Lights in a moment. You can watch more championship off-road racing over on NBC. Our next race comes up tomorrow, 1:30 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. That's championship off-road racing on NBC. And the man joining me to call that race, our own Wally Dallenbach. Ken Stout is headed downstairs for the Pro Light event, and you're up here because you're going to watch and try and get some tips, because there's a rumor when we all get together later on this summer, you'll actually be driving in the Pro Light Series.
With a lot of help from Mr. Baldwin, yes, I'm going to get to drive a Pro Light truck. I've been looking forward to getting involved in the series somehow. I didn't care if it was a buggy or a truck or whatever. So yeah, it's going to be, I'm really excited about it. We're going to do our first race at Chula Vista. So I figured I'd come up here and watch close.
And we both have really taken to this series since the first time we've seen it, and we haven't been disappointed here in 2008.
You know, the racing is great. It just gets better. We have more and more fans showing up, more and more people talking about this. And as everyone knows, we're happy to be a part of this and can't wait for the rest of the season.
And just be sure you root against Wally, because it'll be very hard to live with if he's successful in this, which you could be.
Unlike now.
Well, let's take a look at the trucks on the track. The Pro Light Series getting ready to take the green flag here in Primm. Take a look at the starting grid, run it across the top of the screen for you. You can see that up front will be the 22 truck of Matt Barney, who had the good qualifying run, but again, the top 8 were inverted here for the Pro Light Series after qualifying. So as you drop back a little bit, you'll see that Marty Hart was the fastest truck, and there's Jeff Kincaid in the 4 truck and Marty Hart in the 15. Those were the 2 fastest qualifiers. They drop back to row 4. Now, you've had a few laps on this track, and Ken and I have talked about, it's very challenging and changes a lot.
All these tracks change a lot, but this is really a fun course. And the reason why I like it is because it's fast. It's a fast track. You carry a lot of speed, you carry a lot of air, and there's a lot of room. Going over, start-finish line, you got a little jump into turn one, real high banked, sharp corner. This next session is really tricky. Takes a lot of rhythm, it really beats you up. You get into turn two, another bank corner, a couple of jumps, heads you into turn three. This is a fun corner and sets you up for a really big jump. You go flying over the top of this thing into the last corner, which is really fast and wide, and you'll see a lot of passing here. It really is a cool racetrack.
Take a look at our onboard camera. Casey Curry starts back in the 9th position. He's got one looking right at him. He's already taken off one of his tear-offs.
Yeah, I noticed that. You can see the mud's already hitting his visor. See right there? He's got a bunch of clumps of mud on there, so you're going to go through one or two of them just on the pace laps because the track has just been watered down.
He's got that camera off the back of the truck as well. Coming to get the green flag. '28 truck field. Good luck in turn one. Barney lost a couple of spots.
So far, so good. These guys got 3 and 4 wide really quick.
Jeff Kincaid in that number 4 truck on the outside.
Daughtery in that 17 truck, he was all over the place. And it's going to be, we got somebody spinning there, and it looked like 17 and Daughtery did get into him a little bit, but the track is very slick right now, so it will get better as we go along. It starts drying out. This track will get faster, but right now you got to be careful.
You can tell they did water the track prior to the start of this race. There's the 22 of Barney. He started on the pole, but he's lost several positions. Rob Norton in that 54 truck on the move, over the tabletop on the backstretch.
Ford truck, and Kincaid looks like he's made a couple of spots as well. Lots of different lines to this last corner. As you can see, guys way, way up high. In fact, one guy was riding the wall. He was so high.
When we were here last fall, they tried to take that catch fence down. There's Kincaid. Had tremendous success in off-road racing.
Now let's go back. Look at way up on the top of your screen there. When I was saying somebody was climbing the wall, he made a bank corner out of that. And that was the 82 truck.
Chris Brandt.
All right, well, that was pretty neat. Ford, the 9 truck right there.
Had the good run at Pomona. Kincaid in the 4. There's Horde. Kincaid on the right. Got that Traxxas sponsorship. Here in 2008, making the move back to championship off-road racing, and big things expected for him. That's the battle for second. We drop back a little further in the field, but let's check with Kelly.
Jeff Kincaid there now in the 2nd spot, has 5 Pro Light Championships on his resume, and he came away with a pair of 5th places at Pomona. He said he was kind of happy with that, but here he can afford to be a little bit more aggressive. He has a backup truck that is ready to go. It's pretty much identical to the one that he's got out there now, although he favors this truck a little bit more. But he told me that he would be a little more aggressive here running in Primm.
Now, do you really think he was happy with 2 5th place finishes?
No. Tell you what, he made some really good games right off the start of this race. So really strong right now.
Was strong in qualifying, but again, they inverted the top 8. This is for the lead. Chad Horde in the 9, Jeff Kincaid in the 4. Marty?
Well, Bill, I was talking to Chad before the race, and he's one of those many guys who used to race back east and now decided to come here and race in CORR. And he said, you know, this is where I need to be. This is where the best competition is. He said it got to be back east where there were maybe 2-3 guys who could win. Here in CORR, there's 8-10 guys that can win every race. This is the best off-road racing right here in CORR.
And 11 when you get in. Okay?
Yeah, I hope so. And I'll tell you what, you can see Kincaid's making a run here. You can see when those guys get over that rhythm session, section. It's really, really tough with these pro light trucks. Kincaid down on the bottom looking for some traction there as Hort goes up, but Hort's got the bite.
And Pudi has moved to the third spot. Hart is fourth. Rob Naughton is fifth. Casey Curry sixth. Kelly?
The two guys up front, Chad Hort and Jeff Kincaid, certainly no strangers to each other. They're actually good friends in their personal lives. Jeff Kincaid used to sell his old chassis to Chad Hort, and then when Chad grabbed his first championship, he started joking, maybe I got to start cutting these things up when I'm done. But these guys will race each other very hard, but very, very clean. They won't take any chances of taking one another out.
Oh, we got some trouble up there. Hort in trouble, is pulling off the course as Kincaid now takes over the lead. The 9 truck well off the pace.
Had worked his way to the front. Now limping around this 1 mile track. That moves Kincaid to the lead. Started in the 7th spot after being the second fastest qualifier.
Now that puts Ampudia in second. Ampudia is trying to make some ground up on Kincaid.
There's Jeff out front after the trouble for Hort. You can see this track really starting to dry out.
And then it gets drier, it gets faster, then it gets to the point where it starts drying up and gets dusty, and it gets really slick. Right now it's probably the perfect conditions.
It's Rob Naughton right there in the 54. Got Marty Hart in the 15 right behind him. That's third and fourth. Casey Curry made his way up to fifth. There's Casey.
And a great shot. See how the driver gets thrown around in these trucks. You're constantly, you know, in the air, on the ground, turning. You don't get much rest at all on these courses.
And worth pointing out, no mirrors.
No mirrors.
Kelly?
Got a good look there at Casey Curry. That's a brand new truck for him. He didn't even sit inside of the thing until just before the first round in Pomona. So another guy who's had no time to really get it dialed in, but he's very excited about his new program. And a new crew chief, Warren Anderson, who he took from Riviera Racing, who just came away with a Baja 1000 victory. So they're very excited there around the Curry pits.
Runs in the 5th position, about 10 seconds behind Jeff Kincaid. And as we've talked about, you'll see these body panels, side panels fall off throughout the race. Kincaid has to work his way through lap traffic. Again, nearly 30 trucks in this starting field on this 1 mile course. Ampudia runs second, about a second and a half or so behind Kincaid. And Rob Naughton back in third, Hart in fourth, and Curry in fifth. Barney, who started on the pole, back to the 10th position. There's Ampudia chasing Kincaid. As we approach the competition caution. And again, there are points awarded for the trucks running first, second, and third when they get the competition caution. It is out, and 6 bonus points for Jeff Kincaid. Ampudia second and Naughton third. "17 laps on this 1 mile course." Marty.
Well, Bill, Chad Hort is back here in the hot pits. We saw him lose the lead. He said the temperature just spiked on his truck. He had to pull it into the hot pit. Something was wrong with it. He tried to let it cool down out on the racetrack, but the temperature is not going down. It will be a short day for Chad Hort.
And you know he'll be disappointed. He's looking for a strong run here.
Those things always happen when you run good. They never happen when you're struggling.
So Kincaid is the race leader. Halfway through the Pro Light event here in Primm, Nevada. We're under caution. Jeff Kincaid leads. We've got the rest of the Pro Light race to go, and the Pro 4s coming up. You're watching Championship Off-Road Racing on Speed. Our speed coverage of championship off-road racing continues from Primm, Nevada under caution in the Pro Light race. Let's check in with Ken Stout.
Let's talk about one of the items on these race trucks that you won't have on your everyday truck. It's called a dry sump system, and it actually really takes care of the oiling system inside of these vehicles, keeps the oil nice and cool and fresh. This is the tank here. All the oil is contained inside of this tank. If you go to the bottom, this is actually the feed line out of the bottom of the tank that runs to the pump. Now the pump will send it around to a pre-filter, and the pre-filter will clean any items that the previous filter did not catch earlier inside of this system. We'll talk about that in a moment. But the pre-filter is located right here. After the oil leaves the pre-filter, it goes into an oil cooler located inside of the truck. Of course, they want to keep that protected. Once it leaves the oil cooler, then it goes back into the engine nice and cool. Now when it exits the engine, it comes back and gets dumped into the top part of this oil tank, but it goes through a scavenge filter. And of course that will pick up any debris, possible metal shavings that might be collected inside of the oil. Now, this is a pretty good system, and I'll tell you why. It saved Chad Hord a lot of money. During practice, Chad Hord was losing oil pressure, so what did they do? They came in, they checked the scavenge filter, they saw a lot of metal shavings in it, they knew something was wrong with the engine. Henceforth, an engine change in practice, everything is fine, minimal damage to the previous engine, and these guys are good to go.
Thank you, Ken. But trouble for Chad Hord during this race.
Yeah, as Ken pointed out, these filters and all that stuff are really, really important on these trucks. With all the dirt and the debris and everything that's going on here, you can see here is Chad in the lead. He knows something's wrong, especially if an engine gets hot. You've got to shut it down. If it starts getting hot, there's a reason. It's not going to get any cooler normally. So I think he slowed down. Hopefully maybe if there was mud or something packed in there, thought maybe it was going to cool down. But that's when you really start toasting your engine, is when you run that truck with high water temperatures. Then it's a domino effect, and things just get worse and worse.
And they've done some work on that truck, and they have sent him back out on the track. So we'll see how that works out for Chad. Now the field getting ready to take the green for the restart.
And here's where your tires are your friends or your enemies. Whatever your choice of tires, it's real important, because the track has been watered down now to keep the dust down. These next few laps, you're going to have to be really careful. I mean, you still got to run hard, but it is going to be slippery.
Oh! Wild ride in turn one. Looks like the 5 truck. Shannon Campbell started in the 10th position.
Got another spinner in the rhythm section.
And more coming, and this is what you talk about. It's really slick.
It really is slick, and these next couple, like I said, first couple laps are real critical. Just try to keep that thing pointed and straight. Tough to do when there's jumps every 6 or 7 feet.
And something we heard Ricky Johnson talk about after the Pro 2 race is you're also trying to protect your position at the same time.
So you, in a situation like this, if you like this kind of thing, you can really gain a lot of spots, but you know, you can also make one little mistake and lose a lot of spots. I think it makes it really exciting.
I think this is a fun track for the drivers. That's Naughton climbing the wall down there.
And I like that little bank on that wall. I hope they keep that.
This is a fun track for the drivers and a fun track for the fans.
It really is. It's got everything. Like I said, it's fast. You got big bank corners like this. They're coming into the rhythm section, which is really tough on these Pro Light trucks. And then that big jump off the back is just really fun.
Naughton runs in second, Kelly.
And that Ready Lift Ford, he's had 8 wins in 2007. None of those came here, though, at Primm. He said the big change in him is that until you know you can win, you hope you can win, but once you know you can win, you have a huge mental advantage, and he thinks that that's what's working into play for him here against his competitors and saw him dominate in 2007.
He's in the second spot now, chasing Jeff Kincaid. There's Rodrigo Ampudia in third. Grant runs in fourth. Marty Hart right there on the 15 is fifth. Snyder, what are you looking at?
I was talking to Jeff Kincaid earlier today, and he feels like they really didn't get to show their best hand at Pomona, Bill. They had a wreck in practice, pulled out the backup truck, had to start at the back of the field, still finished 5th in that race. The truck he's driving today is that truck that crashed in Pomona. Took him a week to fix it. Obviously, they got it right. One side note for you guys, Casey Curry came in. He has gone to the garage, a broken right rear shock on his number 2 truck.
Thanks, Marty. I'll tell you, they took that car in Pomona, that truck for Kincaid, back in like 3 different wheelbarrows after his wreck. Those guys worked really hard to get that fixed.
They fixed it right.
Yes, they did. Now, as this track dries out in the closing laps here, it'll be interesting to see if it helps Naughton and Ampudia close up on Kincaid. Boy, it's like you're hunting for the dry stuff.
And that's what, and these guys are like, they're on the cushion right now because the bottom is still too slick. So these guys kind of go sliding in there and they're looking for that cushion to try to get a little bit of grip.
So Kincaid leads, Naughton still second, Ampudia losing a little bit of ground in third. Hart still rounds out the top 5. That's a rough ride through there.
It really is. And it looks like Naughton might be gaining a little bit of ground on Kincaid right now.
Was 1.6 seconds behind
and when
at the start-finish line.
And when you see somebody and you see that you're catching them, all of a sudden you start running. And we got trouble at the 15 of Hart.
Yep.
In the rhythm section is now pulled off the side of the course. And that was he was in 5th spot right there that last lap.
Well, he had that good race in Pomona, but won't see the checkered flag here this afternoon.
Here's where Naughton makes up a lot of ground. It looks like he can gain that because he's using that berm, Marty.
That's right, Wally, and they're telling him he asks for lap times, and every time he comes past the start-finish line, they give him the lap time, and the spotter every time says, you're reeling him in, you're reeling him in. He's giving him the confidence that he can catch the leader.
He's also telling him the truth. He made up 8 tenths in that lap. He cut Kincaid's lead in half from 1.6 to 8 tenths of a second.
But you know Kincaid's guys are in his ear right now saying, he's catching you, go, go, go. Really fairly even all the way around the course. It just looks like Naughton catches Kincaid a little bit in that last corner.
This is a left-hander that leads to the tabletop. Ampudia back in the 3rd spot.
And slower traffic could come into play here, Bill. They can't use their line they want. They got to lift just a little bit. That's going to make a big difference.
Boy, Kincaid had to split a couple of trucks right there. And there goes Naughton, but he got to get chopped.
Yep. I mean, Kincaid had to lift a little bit, and Naughton made up some ground there.
It was 8 tenths of a second. Now it's back to 1.4. Naughton having a little trouble down there in 1. Less than 2 laps to go for the Pro Lights, with the Pro 4 still to go here from Primm. Good look at that truck for Kincaid. And again, Naughton trying to reel him in. Ampudia hasn't been able to do anything here in the second half of this race.
Yeah, I think unless Kincaid makes a mistake or gets hung up in traffic, at this point it's going to be really tough for Naughton might even catch him, but boy, it's going to be tough to pass him.
And there is going to be a lot of traffic ahead for Kincaid. This is turn 4. This takes you back to the front stretch and the start-finish line. Jeff Kincaid gets the white flag when he comes by this time. 1 to go. Naughton only carved off a 10th of a second on that lap. Ampudia in 3rd, Brandt in 4th, Cafaro in 5th. Through the rhythm section.
Right up against that wall. That's where that cushion is. That's what he's looking for. And right now, it looks like there's only, I mean, really, there's one fast line around this place, which makes it difficult for the guys in the back to try to make up some ground.
But Kincaid looks like he got slowed a little bit by that lap truck. And Naughton trying to close up, and here he comes. Half a lap from the finish. Really closing up as they head for the tabletop.
Oh, this is going to be a good last corner. He goes down to the bottom, sees if he can get any grip down there. Oh, there's a slower traffic. Chuck is going to get hit. Wow. Just didn't get the grip.
Kincaid off of 4, looking for the checkers, and holds off Rob Naughton for the win. Huge win for Jeff Kincaid. Got that Traxxas sponsorship just before the season started, and he's headed for victory lane here in Primm. Boy, and you wonder what might have happened if that lap truck hadn't been there. Because Naughton been running up against the wall.
He'd been running high, but I mean, he knew Kincaid was up there. He was looking at that slower truck, so he decided he'd try to go to the bottom, and all he was looking for was just a little bit of traction down there. If he could have pulled it off, it would have been really exciting. But Kincaid, he had that line, even though that slower truck was in front of him. Naughton couldn't get the grip down on the bottom to get next to him.
Yeah, that's Matt Barney, the 22, who started on the pole after the inversion. There's Jeff Kincaid, his first win of 2008 after making the return to championship off-road racing. Hey, Wally, thanks for coming by.
Hey, thanks for having me, Bill.
We'll see you on the track.
Okay.
We're going to victory lane with Jeff Kincaid when our speed coverage of championship off-road racing continues from Primm. Take a look at the unofficial results from this afternoon's Pro Lite event here in Primm. Jeff Kincaid started 7th. After race officials inverted the top 8 qualifiers, worked his way to the front, had a little bit of help, but drove a great race, came home and got the win. Naughton finishes 2nd, and Pudia comes home 3rd, back to John Byer in the 10th position. Jeff Kincaid, a 5-time Pro Lite champion, is back in victory lane.
Well, Bill, so far all the men who have started 7th today have gone on to win. Jeff Kincaid does that as well, and a big win for him and a fun-filled last few laps. Tell me about that battle with Naughton there. Were you looking out the rearview mirror, or were you looking out the windshield on that last lap?
Well, I'll tell you, everybody has to fight through it, but it just didn't seem like I hit the lap traffic at the right time. And at the end there, I had to push a guy across the start-finish line there, and I wasn't going to let Robert pass me that easy, And I'll tell you, we picked up this new sponsorship from Traxxas this year. They come along with Forest County Potawatomis, Toyota, and BF Goodrich, and we're back in winning form.
Yes, they indeed are, and here winning in Primm. This is the truck they wrecked in Pomona, Bill, but it's in victory lane this weekend.
And I'll tell you, the drivers get a lot of the credit, but you really have to take your hat off to the crew getting that thing put back together and getting Kincaid to victory lane. Jeff Kincaid wins. You're watching CORR on Speed.
It's on 12.
Unofficial standings in Pro Lite. After 3 events here in 2008, Jeff Kincaid, the championship leader, and Pudia back to 2nd. Robert Naughton comes home 3rd. Let's check with Kelly.
Here with Robert Naughton and Rodrigo Ampudia. Robert, I'm going to start with you, really giving Jeff a run for his money there at the end of the race. What were you looking for on that last lap?
I was just looking for an open spot, and I had one there, but the track was so greasy I couldn't make it stick. The lappers were everywhere, and we were racing hard. We were going back and forth, and I started in the 7th spot and just got pummeled working my way to the front. I wanted to win this bad for the team. My guys have worked so hard on the Ready Lift Max's team, and I want to win one for the guys, and we were close there. We'll be back up here tomorrow, hopefully in the number 1 spot.
All right, it was good enough for 2nd. Turning to Rodrigo Ampudia, who finished 3rd. I know you've been battling some gremlins in this truck. What did you have left in it the second half of the race?
Well, after they watered the track, it was so greasy, like Robert said. We were preparing for a dry track, so my tires were set up differently. Have some issues with the truck. Hopefully we'll get those bugs out by tomorrow. Papa some beer, Monster Energy, Takata team worked out great. BF Goodrich tires held up great. Awesome race.
All right, thanks, Rodrigo. Bill?
Thank you, Kelly. So an exciting race for the Pro Lights. It came down to the last turn on the last lap. Norton couldn't make it stick, and Kincaid gets the win. Still ahead, the stars of Pro 4 when we continue from Las Vegas. We're in Primm, Nevada, right behind Buffalo Bills and across the street from Whiskey Pete's for championship off-road racing. Let's check in with Kelly Stavist.
Well, Rick Huseman has become one of the top guys in Pro 4, but he built his racing program from the ground up. And after years of success in Pro Light and Pro 4, some of his competitors still overlook him.
We used to race down at Estero Beach a bunch down in Mexico. And Kurt LeDuc used to go down there also. And he's the one that actually helped me go to Crandon. He actually gave me some money and he let me pit with him in his semi and everything out at Crandon. We drove out back there on a flat trailer, and we got hooked after that. You know, we did decent, and we were running with the big guys and everything. And we made a couple appearances every year, 2 to 4 races a year. Every time we'd come home, make the truck faster and faster, and we really got to where we were competitive. And then when FabTech came on board and we started getting tire sponsorships, and it just all started coming together. You know, you start running with the top guys, and then it just all starts flowing.
Back in the Pro Light days, when Rick showed up, I knew I had my hands full. So there hasn't a whole lot changed there between me and him, but I just don't think the rest of them quite know it yet. And I'm sure they're gonna find out awful quick, because I know Rick's ready to start winning races. We just gotta make sure we don't give him too many.
It's all about being comfortable in your truck, and I'm at that point where I'm fairly comfortable in the truck, and the truck's working great, and I think we're there with the top guys. So, you know, I'm hoping to finish up there next to the podium or on the podium every time.
Rick Huseman is one that is just phenomenal. I mean, I think he's the one who gets forgotten about all the time, and it's really a shame, because you look at his talent, you look at his crew, you look at how he qualifies. He's always in the top spot, or 1 or 2, and he's always running there, and he's a phenomenal, clean driver, great person, and I just love racing against him. And when he finally turns that corner and starts getting those wins, watch out.
Rick Huseman comes in off the heartbreaking loss in Pomona. He's on the track with the rest of the Pro 4s next on Speed. We're back in Primm, getting ready for the green flag for Pro 4. The top 8 were inverted, so Adrian Cheney on the pole. Not for long.
Travis Point just rocking through that rhythm section. Adrian Cheney comes right back. We saw Adrian Cheney lose a couple of heartbreakers last year. We also saw him in one of the worst wrecks ever.
We also saw him lose the lead right there. I thought he was going to lose it in 1. Of course, they call him the
Wild Man.
That's right.
He doesn't have too much fear, that's for sure.
There's Coyne, there's Cheney in the 11, and there's that Rennezener guy, CORR Rennezener. Up to 3rd.
Cheney way up high, using the wall. We saw the Pro Light guys doing that. That cushion's pushing way up high.
That really looks like that's the fast way around down there.
CORR Rennezener leaning on those 2 guys, waiting for somebody to make a mistake. Again, Adrian real high, just kind of diamonds that turn off, and here he comes through the rhythm section. Well, they make that rhythm section look easy, and if you miss that thing, if you go too fast or too slow, it gets ugly in a hurry.
And for a guy like Travis right now, he's really thinking about not making any mistakes. Such a young guy with not a lot of laps.
And he's been solid. I mean, ever since he got inside of this Pro 4 truck, he does not falter. They don't lean on him and create mistakes out of him. He just stays in there, and he's fast.
Now let's go back and take a look at some of the action a little deeper in the field. There's Huseman. That's in turn 2.
Yeah, he got up on the binders real hard right there, and it looked like he was trying to keep from getting into the side of Josh Baldwin. Unfortunately, spun it around.
Cheney using that cushion along the wall, putting pressure on the race leader, Travis Coyne.
You know, the top 4 guys in this inversion, there's only one of them that was unaffected.
Oh.
That, of course, is Carl Renesetter. Qualified 4th, starts 4th, and man, that was a big hit right there. That could actually break an axle in that right front.
Kelly.
Talk about the importance of tires on this track as Adrian Cheney has a great battle going there with Travis Coyne. Adrian Cheney on a developmental tire with Nitto. They really don't have an off-road tire. They're really working to build something that'll work here in CORR. So he's kind of a step behind as far as that goes. Just by sheer basis of BF Goodrich and some of these other manufacturers have years of R&D going into these, and they're kind of starting from scratch here with Cheney.
He's going to be fun to watch up front.
He's always fun to watch, no matter where. Oh, and he just rolled it up, way up. Oh, and he kept it alive. What an unbelievable move. He actually hit the berm and kicked him up, right up on the fence, back down on the wall, and still on the track, and still in the lead. Are you kidding me?
9,000 people going wild in Primm.
Unbelievable. Look at this. Up over the fence. It just keeps going. Did he even lift?
Think that could be the Skyjacker shot for the race?
Oh, that could be both of them.
Well, Cheney leading and making it pretty entertaining.
No sooner than you said he'd be fun to watch. He delivered.
Scott Douglas also on the move. Had an Amsoil Kumo truck number 7.
Maybe that's the magic that Cheney needs right there. You'd have to go back to round 4, 2001 to find his last win. We're not going to give it to him yet, but boy, to survive that, you'd have to think that luck is with him. Good look at Scott Douglas right there. Brand new truck, and that one's really been fast. Douglas qualified on the outside pole. Of course, had to start 7th. Works his way up to 2nd.
Marty.
Well, Bill, here's something you don't see very often. Carl Renesetter early in the race in the hot pits. He is done. They broke a rear end gear in this truck. Hope to get a word with him in just a moment.
Thanks, Marty. This is for the lead. That's Adrian Cheney in that orange number 11. Scott Douglas in that Amsoil Kumo ride right behind him, looking to the inside in 2.
Adrian Cheney teaming up with Mark Porter, who ran in Pro 2 last year, now running both classes and doing pretty good right here today. I see it looks like a little smoke out of the back of that truck. I can't tell if it's dust or smoke out of Adrian's truck.
Kelly.
Anytime you see Scott Douglas around these pits, you see him just grinning ear to ear about this new truck. And even though he qualified 2nd, he told me he still felt like he left a lot out on the table. Thought he had a couple more laps to get his best one out in qualifying, and then they cut it short. So you can see him pushing now. He expected to be making a move for the front. To Marty Snyder.
Carl Renesetter is out of this race. It's an early exit. What happened?
Well, he's got a little bit of traffic. I guess I tried to go low in a corner, and I was holding my line. I don't know. I guess I'll look at the tape. I thought I was holding my line, gave Adrian plenty of room, and he came down, and I think we went wheel to wheel in the back, and it knocked the inner pivot off my track rod on the rear, so we're done. But we're fast. This Lucas Oil truck's good, and we'll be back tomorrow.
Defending champ out, but the action on the track pretty hot, isn't it, Bill?
It is. New leader, Scott Douglas. Point out that Renesetter came in as the leader in Pro 4 points after the sweep at Pomona. There's Cheney. Back to 3rd, behind Johnny Greaves in 2nd. And here's the pass for the lead just a few moments ago.
Again, Adrian Cheney up there flirting with that cushion. It's right against the wall, and it cost him this time. It slowed him down. That opened up the door, obviously, for Douglas to get by. Now he's having issues. He might have a broken rear gear as well, as hard as he hit that wall. But Douglas doing a great job. Brand new truck that he built along with Bill Smith, the crew chief. A look at Adrian Cheney. Man, that one's tore up.
He was flirting with a parking lot.
Yeah. He might have been looking at the roller coaster next door.
He was the roller coaster.
Douglas out front, and here comes Johnny Greaves again.
2 of the stars of Pro 4 as we head toward the competition caution. Marty?
Hey, Bill, real quick, in turn 4, there's a lot of spotters saying don't run that berm like Cheney was because they feel like it's starting to give way. Maybe that's what happened to him.
Keep an eye on that. Thanks for the update, Marty.
On board taking a look at Johnny Greaves, I believe that is right there. And think that's Johnny.
There's the competition caution. There you see Cheney's truck stopped.
Scary moment.
And this, the competition caution, allows them to bunch up the field and make for some exciting racing in the second half of the event. And we will point out the plan right now is to water the track during this competition caution, and we've seen that provide some excitement. So Douglas gets the 6 bonus points. Cheney gets the roller coaster ride at Buffalo Bills. So that's Buffalo Bills here in Primm, and they call that a roller coaster ride. And if you've been on it, it's a lot of fun. If you're Adrian Cheney, you prefer this kind of ride.
It's your own roller coaster ride, and he got the best out of that one. Talk about an e-ticket ride. That one qualifies.
And obviously he damaged his truck. There's the catch fence. That's down in turn 4. There's a number on the top of it. Cheney is out. Marty gave us an update on that. Sounded like you were right. It could be a gear issue.
Yes, well, I mean, who knows after he went up there and did all that, and then, of course, he came back around and smacked the wall again with the right rear. So that truck has seen some tough duty here today.
And Steve Barlow is running 5th after starting 9th, but might be more issues for him as well.
Yeah, we're hearing driveline issues there, too, as well, from Marty. Was able to listen in on the radio just a moment.
Marty.
Hey guys, Cheney has limped back to the pits here and has told his guys basically it was either a gear or a transmission, so you guys were right on that. The Barlow issue, he was running too hot, so they told him to stay out of first gear because they feel like that builds up the temperature more. So under caution here, he's riding around in second gear instead of first.
Oh boy, everybody hang on. Restart. Trucks on the lead lap here. Scott Douglas, the race leader. Reeves in that monster Toyota challenging for second.
There is some big smoke underneath the hood of Douglas's truck. Here comes Johnny right up in there, tries to pull a slide job. Looked like he kept it off the side of Douglas. That's what those guys worry about with Johnny, because Johnny, from his motocross experience, loves to pull a slide job in there. And he's not afraid to use you for a burn.
Heading for the tabletop, and then the big sweeper that's turn 4.
You can see Johnny's truck get kicked off to the right just a little bit. If you get way to the right, oh man!
Oh, contact! Douglas trying to hang on, and keeps going.
Man, he really turned that thing sideways. I thought maybe he broke something in the front drive because that's what the 4-wheel drives will do. And now he's going to have a flat tire. I don't think Johnny had anywhere to go. I don't think that was anybody's fault.
Greaves trying to take the lead. Douglas trying to hang on. Johnny Greaves in that Forest County Potawatomi Monster Energy Toyota to first.
I think Douglas just hit a slick spot. It caused him to over-rotate. Johnny had nowhere to go. Let's look at it one more time. Right here, Douglas looking good, looking good. All of a sudden, boom, man, it just whipped the truck around and Johnny had nowhere to go.
And you'll have to watch for damage on the front of Greaves' truck as well. See if he did any damage to that
I think you're absolutely right. Absolutely great call, Bill.
Marty?
Scott just radioed into the crew, guys, and said it feels like the left rear is indeed flat on that number 7 Ford. He also said it might be a wheel bearing, so he's trying to limp around as best he can and try and hold on to what he's got.
Guess who's in third?
Scott Douglas.
Rick Huseman. Oh, man, there goes a tire. Wow.
Douglas makes the save. Greaves leads, Kelly.
Well, even as they inverted that field, which moved him back to the 3rd row, he told me that's kind of right where he likes to be. He said he's won just as many times coming from the 2nd and 3rd row and actually prefers to have a little pressure of running with trucks around him rather than being out there all alone up front.
And there you see Douglas finally off the pace, a little bit of fire in there as well.
Yeah, that flat tire can cause a lot of damage. The wheel seal in there gets really hot, melts, and it gets ugly. Here we go again. Oh yeah, big flames out of that. Obviously the fuel cell back there as well. And pretty scary moment there, but it went right back out.
So Douglas off the track, Greaves leads, and Rick Huseman runs second. A couple of weeks ago in Pomona, California, in the Pro 4 race, Rick Huseman thought he had it won, but lost it in the last turn of the last lap to CORR Rent-A-Center. I talked to him on Friday here. He said that will never happen to him again. He will never give up the lead. Oh!
Number 19, I believe that's Tim Herbst right there. That's the Rockstar sponsor machine from the Herbst.
So local caution in that section of the track.
Possibly Troy Herbst, actually.
There's Huseman in second. Said he'll never be passed in the final turn on the last lap again.
Great look at Johnny Greaves in the cockpit. Oh man, and look at Huseman making a run. How about this? The Toyotas are going at it.
This is for the lead.
You know, Rick Huseman was a rocket ship here a year ago and they touched. He was a rocket ship here a year ago, put it up on the pole. That truck was fast and it's still fast.
Right-hander here in turn 2. You see the local yellow.
They just rolled the 19. That is Troy Herbst, by the way, that they rolled back over, truck number 19. Smoke bellowing out of that one, so they'll have a caution flag here for the full course, it looks like.
Looks like we might be going to a red flag situation here.
Like they're really worried about the fire. Obviously, that's the worst fear of any driver that climbs inside of the cockpit to go racing. And that fire for Troy, you can see the smoke in that truck at the top of the screen there bellowing out. It is a red flag condition. It's just a scary moment. You want to make sure those guys are okay and get out of that truck.
So under the red flag here in the Pro 4 event in Primm. Rick Huseman scored as the race leader, then it's Greaves. Travis Coyne runs third. And there's the 19.
And that's, of course, after they rolled it over. I mean, it was on its lid, so they pulled it back over, I believe. And he's climbing out of there. You know, obviously the smoke inhalation. You see him over there, and he's
back up on
standing
his
now.
feet.
Yeah, it's a great sign.
Marty?
I had a good view of that, Bill. It actually was driver's side down, so he couldn't get out of the truck, so they had to roll it over. When they rolled it over, that's when the fire started. They were trying to put it out, and at the same time, Troy is trying to dive out of the truck, obviously, to get away from the fire, so it was kind of trying to get everything done at one time, but he's able to walk away and talking to officials right now. Happy to report.
Now the trucks return to the hot pits under the red flag. Team's not allowed to work on them. Now beginning to head back out onto the track. Here's what we've seen so far. And this is the Pro 4 event. There's Huseman, who comes in off the disappointment in Pomona.
Man, oh man, what a ride right there. Up into the fence, managed to keep going, actually kept the lead, believe it or not.
That was for the lead. Scott Douglas getting hit by Johnny Greaves after Douglas just hit a little slick spot in the track. Then,
oh wow, I never saw that, and it looks like Huseman kind of finished him off right there.
but Douglas was struggling as Johnny Greaves got the lead, and there you see Scott on a hot day, getting even hotter for him. And then Troy Herbst.
Very scary moment there. He was laying on his side. You can see the damage on the driver's side of the truck. They pulled it back up, and then, of course, he had to get out of there as quickly as possible.
And we saw him out on the track and walking back toward the pit area. Marty.
Well, I am happy, Bill, to be talking to Troy Herbst. And, man, all we did, saw you upside down in the fire. What happened?
Well, I saw the gas starting to come out, and I was talking to my guy saying, here we go, get ready for it. And so I had my hand on the fire restraint, and then all of a sudden when it engulfed, I lost everything. And luckily the guys at CORR were there, able to get me out and pretty safe, but you know, we were pretty disappointed. We had a lot of problems out there today, and it just wasn't a good day.
Yeah, take us through that, and we'll look at your helmet here. Your tearaway started to melt, actually, and on top you can see a little bit of red there. That's your glove where it actually melted onto your helmet.
Yeah, they just showed me where grabbed onto the head there, and it grabbed onto like the molten there. But starting out, we lost the power steering. We were down. We were trying to get back going again, and even though we were back, we were racing pretty hard, and just don't want to let the guys down at Terrible Herbst and BF Goodrich for helping us out there. We want to give it our all, and this is this is the luck that we got helped drilled today.
Well, hometown race for Troy. We're glad he's okay, though, Bill.
Thanks, Marty. Getting ready for the restart, and just quickly point out that the Herps really are the unofficial hosts of this race, so very disappointing for them. It's Johnny Greaves in the 4, Rick Huseman in the 3. According to our scoring monitor, we have 7 trucks on the lead lap.
Adrian Cheney actually back in that pack. He's back in the field working his way up. I'm sure a lap or 2 down.
Kelly.
Well, in completing races and being more consistent was a huge priority for Adrian Cheney. He said they figured out last year they only completed about 60% of the races. So to get back out here, I'm sure, and finish this, you know, will be somewhat of a success in its own right for Cheney.
Boy, guys just going at it in the front of the field.
Travis Coyne in that 5 truck, silver and blue. Greaves the race leader.
All by himself, the white flag coming out. We saw Huseman having some issues back in there as well. A lot of damage to Coyne's truck.
You know, I like this track, I like the excitement, but this has really turned into a survival of the fittest or the luckiest.
And it's funny, I had a conversation with Rob McCackron before today's racing started. He said, you know, back in the old days, we used to hit each other a lot more.
Funny you should bring that up.
Johnny Greaves now way out front. Less up the brakes on the truck, should be solid here.
Remember, Greaves had that contact with Douglas. Less than half a lap from the finish now.
And we also saw Mike Jenkins work his way up into the top 5. Spectacular run for him, and only his 3rd ever Pro 4 event.
Out of the final turn, checkered flag for Johnny Greaves. Kurt LeDuc gets 2nd. Then Travis Coyne, Tim Herbst, and Mike Jenkins with a top 5 finish. And basically what's just his 3rd ever race in CORR.
Yeah, absolutely. It came out of some road racing, some Spec Miata racing. It's actually a truck that Scott Douglas used last year and had great success with.
So Johnny Greaves gets the win in Primm. He's going to victory lane. We'll tag along for the ride. You're watching Championship Off-Road Racing on Speed. Well, here are the unofficial results. Johnny Greaves gets the win. What a wild ride for Kurt LeDuc in that 43 truck. He's 53 years old. Travis Coyne comes home 3rd. Then you see Tim Herbst. Then we talked about Mike Jenkins getting the 5th place finish, a top 5 for him in his 3rd off-road race. Johnny Greaves in victory lane. Let's go there now.
Johnny Greaves climbing out of his truck. His last win was here in Primm back in November. And you gotta bet it feels good for him to be back. Johnny, grabbing your first win of 2008. You did it here in Primm though in November. How good does it feel to be back on this top spot?
Oh man, it feels so good. We had to get that monkey off our back, you know. We worked hard getting that Pro 2 done, and it may have hurt us that first weekend, but we slept in and got our prep right, and this Pro 4 is back on track, and Pro 2's coming along pretty good anyway. So you know, the track was a tough technical track. It was full of holes. It was full of interesting excitement. It was full of Adrian Cheney. You know, we never knew what was going to happen next. But hey, the BFG, the Toyota Monster, Potawatomi, all those guys, Fox Shocks, this thing ran flawless. And that crew, my family, those guys worked their butts off and make this happen for me. And I just go out and make myself look pretty.
Definitely had to earn it. Talk about those battles, first with Scott Douglas and then with Rick Huseman.
Yeah, you know, I knew Rick was going to be tough, and I saw him loop it in the beginning, so I just concentrated on Douglas. And when me and him got out in clean air, we had a little room, and And then I got by him, and I was, I felt like I had a good line slow around the bottom, but it was a little conservative, and Rick threw it in there harder, and I seen him with a drive, and I thought, I'm going to have to try that next time. But apparently he didn't get by me before the mandatory red or the caution or whatever it was, so I got to go back in the spot and take it home from there. So.
When you saw him out watering the track, what did you know you were going to have to do to compensate for that and contend with the slick conditions?
Well, that was one good thing about being in Pro 2 a little bit earlier. We experienced the same thing, and you knew exactly where you had to run, but the track was so much more chewed up. You couldn't just slide across the corners. You had to be super careful, and of course the Pro 4s will still stay low in the water, so I just ran conservative lines and let those guys do whatever they had to do, and I'd deal with them one at a time if they caught up.
All right, congratulations.
Thanks again.
And again, here are the top 5 finishers, as we talked about. Greaves, LeDuc, Travis Coyne, Tim Herbst, Mike Jenkins, the top 5 in this afternoon's Pro 4 event in Primm. We'll return on Speed. Beautiful day here in Primm, Nevada. The dust is finally starting to settle after the Pro 4 race. Johnny Greaves got the win. Let's take a look at our Skyjacker shock of the race.
Yeah, we can watch this one a few more times, and that's just nothing short of spectacular right there. How he kept that one on the track, never lost the lead, I'll never know. Of course, unfortunately, the truck eventually broke, but I don't know if it was because of that.
Do you think that'll make the tease for the race when we go to Pomona?
Probably a pretty good chance we'll see that one again.
Marty?
Well, Bill, I've tracked down a very happy man to go from 13th to 2nd. How did you do that, Kurt LeDuc?
I think it was pure luck. We took this Rockstar Makita truck right to the front. On the last lap, it was time to go. I felt like Talladega. It's like go into the turn 1 and see what you got coming out. And we put her in there sideways. The Toyo was hooked, and man, I can't believe it. Bill asked me if I thought I could win this year, but 2nd place is a pretty good podium for this team, for me. I feel bad for Kyle. He was having a great run, but to be on the podium with this level of competition is unbelievable.
If we heard the cheer during Johnny Greaves' victory lane interview, that was you celebrating your 2nd place at your young age. How much does a podium mean to you?
Oh, it means everything. We got CalGuard on board this year, and it just to be able to win. I always tell everybody we got a great team of marketable sponsors, and we got senior management. The fact that they get me let to drive this Ford truck is unbelievable. Todd was spotting for me. He told me it's the last lap, it's do or die, and we went for it, and it was unbelievable. The brakes went away and came back. It was like a gift from God. It was just such a huge roller coaster. I feel bad for the guys that had trouble, and it just came our way. And there's a lot of experience under this hat, and we used it all today.
I couldn't tell who was more nervous, Todd spotting, saying, calm down, Dad, calm down, or you behind the wheel. Which one?
Well, he was trying to give me the splits this last lap. We thought we had 5 to go, and it turned out to be 2. So, Todd did a great job. I spotted for him. I felt bad for his problem, but, to be here, drinking Rockstar in the winner's circle is unbelievable.
All right, Kurt LeDuc with a 2nd place finish. Travis Coyne with a very solid day. You said it was ugly, but serviceable. What do you mean?
Yeah, we'll take it. This Pro 4 was hanging tough today. I ran out of town a little bit and rolled it over there in turn 1. It's a super rutted up course. It's really challenging and difficult, but you know what? My Toyo tires were hooking up hard. Leon Patton built me a brand new motor. This thing just flies, and we were running with Johnny and
Kurt
Rick.
as well.
Yeah, and Kurt and Rick and all day up front. So, you know what? We're happy with it. We're on the podium again, and hey, Trigger Monster in the winner's circle.
You said a little bit towards the end of the race, you started to lose a little bit of power. What was that?
Yeah, I think the tranny's slipping a little bit, but the motor's strong, and hey, we're going to be ready for tomorrow, and look at us be standing on top.
Travis Coyne with his first podium of the year, Bill.
All right, Marty. Thanks a lot. A monster finish for Travis here in Primm. Updated Pro 4 championship standings.
And Carl Renazetter and Johnny Greaves entered this race tied up with career wins, the most in the history of CORR 59. So Johnny Greaves will take that nod by 1.
And Renazetter will be looking to battle back in round 4. You see Huseman in 3rd, then Douglas, Tim Herbst in 5th, Adrian Chen. Look at Kurt LeDuc, 8th in points. You think he was happy?
And you know what? He's always a great interviewer.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
always has
yeah.
something witty to say,
I can't wait to hear that senior management meeting on Monday. Big day on the podium for the top 3, and Johnny Greaves with a smile in the win. Championship Off-Road Racing on Speed is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics, by Kumho Tires, by Monster Energy Drink, and by Toyota. Moving forward. Never a dull moment when it comes to championship off-road racing, and that was the story here in the desert of Nevada today. Take you through just some of the action we saw, starting with the crowded Pro 2 field.
There was no shortage of it. Right off the bat, Todd LeDuc started off on the pole and got some heat from a lot of good guys, and then they wadded them all up. Obviously there, Rodrigo Ampudia having some issues.
And on that first lap, we saw Ricky Johnson on the inside spin it around.
He would play a role later on. They actually stopped the race to water the track down.
That's Carl Rennezetter in the 17, Rob McCachran in the 21, battling for the lead. But the track really changed after they came out and watered it down, really got slick.
Yeah, Mack had started off in 8th. He was a #1 qualifier. And then, of course, they dealt with that wet track. That's when RJ was able to work his way up to the front and take over the lead. RJ and Carl battling right there. And, of course, RJ inside of the truck that Rob McCachran utilized 1 year ago to get 2 wins right here at Primm. Managed to hang on for his first win since round 3 in 2007.
Won the Pro 2 championship back in 1998. It's his first win of the season and his first with his new team. Pro Light Field was really a traffic jam and a lot of battling, not only up front but deep in the field as well.
How about Chad Horde? Was off leading the race. Unfortunately, something went away in that truck. Then right there, Campbell in the #5 truck rolling over.
But up front, you really wanted to keep your eye on that #4 truck, and this is coming to the finish. That's Jeff Kincaid in the 4, the 5-time Pro Light champion, holding on for the win in traffic. Then the Pro 4s, and this is where things really started to turn on you. There's Adrian Cheney up and still going. You never lift, right? You guys never lift.
Using the top shelf, they say. And of course, a great battle between Douglas and Greaves. Then unfortunately, Douglas had some issues. That's Troy Herbst there at a very scary moment. The hose holding him in there, you can see.
Now, all the safety equipment makes it really difficult to get out of these trucks. He was okay. But the battle continued.
Huseman spun it around. He was actually in second place and had taken over the lead, but when it was all said and done, it was that man, the Forest County Pottawatomie Monster Energy truck, Johnny Greaves.
Let's check in with Marty Snyder.
Well, Bill, it was an interesting race for Adrian Cheney. Let's talk about that big wreck over there. And you got some air on that one up on the chain link fence for a while.
I don't know if you noticed, that wasn't a wreck. That was the fast line around.
That was with style, right?
If you noticed, I came out in front. That was the fast line around the track.
I know, you all but wrecked, right?
Yeah, I mean, I got it up. I saw a lot of sky. I thought it may be a wreck, but, you know, I'm looking for the quick way around the track, and there was a cushion there. It's just there's no traction to get from the inside to the outside cushion, so it just basically went ba-bam, up in the air, came down, but it actually kept momentum.
Yeah. So. Did you have any idea you were on the chain link fence, though, when you were up there?
No, I didn't know it was a chain link fence. I mean, you just pointed out to me that's definitely the high line around the track.
Real quick, you guys were out of the race and got back in. Fuel pump issues?
Yeah. Somehow the fuel pump came unplugged, and they were able to spot it and plug it back in, and away we go.
Bill, they don't call him the wild man for nothing.
Thanks, Marty. Good job. It's the high line around, huh? Hey, the next time we see championship off-road racing on Speed will be Sunday, June 22nd, 5 o'clock from the LA Fairplex in Pomona. And our next NBC race, hey, tomorrow, 1:30. So been a big day here in Primm. Some outstanding racing and some big wins for some former champions. Ricky Johnson going to victory lane in Pro 2, Jeff Kincaid in the Pro Light, and Johnny Greaves in Pro 4. So for Ken Stout, Kelly Stavis, Marty Snyder, Wally Dallenbach, and our entire Speed crew, Bill Weber saying thanks for having us in for the race, and so long from Las Vegas.